You would be amazed at how much can shift in 3 months when you finally decide to stop escaping from your life and start constructing it. 90 days doesn't sound like much. It's not a year, it's not a decade, but when you utilize each day with intention, consistency, and clarity, 3 months becomes the most powerful reset button you've ever had. And today, that reset commences with you. Most people endure the same 90 days over and over again and call it a life. They wake up drained. They react instead of plan. They consume instead of create. They hope something shifts, but they never transform themselves. And then they wonder why nothing in their world appears different. But here's the truth that will accompany us through this entire journey. Your life is not shaped by the grand moments you're waiting for. It is shaped by the hours you dedicate to every single day. 3 months is long enough to transform, but short enough to remain focused. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need motivation that blazes hot for a week and vanishes. What you need is structure. 1 hour, 1 habit, 1 decision, repeated daily until the person you're becoming is more resilient than the person you used to be. This audiobook is not here to entertain you. It's here to train you. It's here to provide you with a system you can follow. Simple, clear, and brutally honest. Because your next 90 days will not be constructed from inspiration. They will be constructed from discipline, clarity, progress, and confidence. These 4 pillars will hold everything together. Discipline is the engine. It's the part of you that appears when your feelings don't. It carries you through early mornings, long days, and the moments when surrendering feels easier. Clarity is the compass. Without it, every hour gets stolen by distractions, noise, and excuses. Progress is the proof. Even the smallest victories create momentum, demonstrating to you that change is not just possible, it's already occurring. And confidence is the reward. True confidence doesn't emerge from hype. It emerges from honoring promises to yourself. So, here's the challenge. For the next 90 days, dedicate yourself 1 hour every single day. 1 hour where you are unreachable. 1 hour devoted to constructing a skill, improving your body, studying your mind, upgrading your habits, or eliminating the patterns that have restrained you for years. If you can accomplish that, just 1 concentrated hour, you will sense the shift long before the 90-day mark. You will think differently. You will move differently. You will choose differently. And those choices will construct a future you didn't believe you were capable of. Envision waking up 3 months from now with more energy, more control, more mental clarity, and more self-respect than you've had in years. Envision being able to point to actual proof, habits you maintained, projects you completed, skills you acquired, decisions you finally executed. This is not a fantasy. It is the inevitable result of consistent action. In this audiobook, we will break down the 10 core habits that shape a powerful 90-day transformation. Each chapter is 1 building block, 1 piece of the structure you're about to create. Some will challenge you. Some will push you. Some will compel you to examine your excuses and replace them with action. But every single one is designed to make you more resilient, clearer, and more disciplined than you were yesterday. You don't need to be perfect for 90 days. You just need to commit. You need to grant yourself permission to attempt again, to persevere, to appear even on the days when nothing feels different. Transformation doesn't occur with intensity. It occurs with consistency. And these next 90 days will demonstrate that to you. So, take a breath. Settle in. This is the beginning of your reset. You're not here to repeat the past. You're here to construct a future. And that future commences with a single choice, a choice you're making right now. Grant yourself 3 months and observe everything change. Chapter 1. The 4% Rule. 1 hour a day changes everything. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a week and underestimate what they can transform in 90 days. That's because they pursue intensity instead of consistency. They wait for perfect motivation, perfect timing, perfect alignment. And while they wait, their life remains exactly the same. If you want these next 3 months to truly shift everything, you must understand one rule: the 4% rule. 4% of your day is 1 hour, just one. But that 1 hour, utilized with clarity and purpose, is sufficient to tilt the entire direction of your life. When people hear 3 months to change everything, they envision dramatic overhauls, extreme routines, or enormous sacrifices. None of that is necessary. What transforms you is not the magnitude of the effort. It's the daily repetition of a small, intentional one. For 90 days, your assignment is simple. Guard 1 hour like your existence depends on it. Because it does. Every successful transformation, mental, physical, emotional, financial, commences with a protected window of time where you construct yourself without interruption. 1 hour where the world does not get to determine who you are. 1 hour where distractions don't prevail. 1 hour where you stop reacting and start creating. Consider your life up until now. How many hours have you surrendered to scrolling, stress, noise, and obligations that didn't matter? How many days have slipped through your grasp because you never claimed a small fraction of them for yourself? That concludes here. The next 90 days are about reclaiming your time and utilizing it intentionally. You don't need a new personality. You don't need more willpower. You need a system. This chapter provides you with that system. It commences with a mindset shift. Your hour is non-negotiable. You don't relocate it. You don't diminish it. You don't trade it for something urgent. You treat it like oxygen, something you require to function at your highest level. When you establish this, the remainder of the journey becomes more manageable. So, what exactly occurs inside this 1 hour? The answer depends on what you want to transform, but the principle remains the same. The hour must be designed to construct, not consume. Consumption comforts you. constructing changes you. Most people confuse the two and wonder why they never advance. In your hour, you do what fortifies your body, sharpens your mind, or elevates your future. Perhaps this hour is where you train. Perhaps it's where you acquire a new skill. Perhaps it's where you write, study, construct, or resolve a problem you've avoided for years. The specifics will vary depending on your objectives, but the architecture stays the same. One intention plus 1 hour plus one standard repeated daily. Let's break this down. You commence your hour by eliminating noise. Airplane mode. Notifications off. Door closed. Environment prepared. The moment you enter this hour, you step into a different identity. The version of you who appears with standards instead of excuses. This is your practice zone, your upgrade zone. When you honor this hour, you communicate to your mind, I take myself seriously. Next, you select one priority, not 10, not 5, not a lengthy list you'll never complete. 1. Because focus is power. A concentrated hour is worth more than an entire distracted day. So, you select the action that advances your life forward. Not the one that feels simplest, but the one that makes tomorrow superior to today. Then you commit fully. No stopping midway, no multitasking, no jumping between tasks. You go deep. You allow yourself to become absorbed in the work. This is where momentum is constructed. People who transform rapidly aren't more talented. They're simply more concentrated. They learn to become unavailable to the things that exhaust them and fully present for the things that fortify them. Some days the hour will feel effortless. Other days it will feel like a struggle. That's natural. Discipline isn't comfortable. It's corrective. It reshapes your patterns, your cravings, your instincts. When your mind resists, that's not a signal you're failing. It's a signal you're changing. This hour instructs you how to override old habits with intention. Over time, something powerful occurs. The hour becomes your anchor. It grounds you when life gets chaotic. It centers you when emotions surge. It stabilizes your mindset when everything else feels uncertain. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust becomes confidence, and confidence becomes fuel. But here is the most critical part. The results of this hour will not manifest immediately. That's where most people surrender. They work for 7 days, don't witness a miracle, and assume nothing is occurring. But transformation has always been quiet at first. The roots grow before the tree does. Change begins below the surface, inside your discipline, inside your identity. And then, one day, the results emerge. This is why the 4% rule matters. It guarantees progress even when your feelings are unpredictable. It protects your direction. It keeps you from drifting. When you commit to 1 hour every day for 90 days, you make more progress than most people make in 3 years. Not because you worked harder, but because you worked consistently. The hour also rewires your self-image. Every time you appear, you transmit a message to your brain: I follow through. That message compounds. Your confidence rises. Your standards rise. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You begin to move through the world with a sense of personal gravity, an inner resilience that doesn't depend on motivation. By the time you complete the 90 days, the hour will no longer be a challenge. It will be a lifestyle. It will be the most valuable appointment on your calendar. And it will be the reason you shift so much in such a brief time. But none of that can commence until you make a simple choice. The hour belongs to you, every day without excuse. So, let me ask you, if 1 hour can change everything, why not claim it today? Why not utilize it to construct the life you've been postponing? Why not commit to a system that guarantees growth instead of waiting for circumstances to magically improve? 90 days from now, you will look back at this moment as the point where everything shifted. Not because you made a dramatic decision, but because you made a consistent one. You chose to grant yourself an hour, and that 1 hour became the difference. Commence tracking it, protect it, respect it, utilize it with purpose. Because your future self is constructed in the hour you commit to today. And today, that hour begins. Chapter 2. Win the morning to win the next 90 days. If the first hour of your day is chaotic, the remainder of your day will follow the same script. Clarity does not emerge from the middle of the day when your energy is scattered and your attention is already stolen. It emerges from the beginning, from the first few choices you make before the world gets a chance to interfere. That is why the fastest path to changing your next 3 months is to win your mornings. When you win the morning, you construct the momentum, the structure, and the discipline that carry you through every hour that follows. Most people wake up and immediately surrender their day to their phone. They review notifications, scroll endlessly, read messages that trigger stress, dive into other people's priorities before touching their own. By the time they actually commence their morning, they're already drained, distracted, and behind. They haven't taken a single moment to breathe, to think, to prepare, or to select who they want to be today. And that one mistake, making the world louder than your mind, ruins the entire day before it even begins. Winning the morning is not about waking up at 4 a.m. or adopting some extreme routine that doesn't fit your life. It is about making the first 20 to 40 minutes yours and only yours. It's about creating a calm, intentional framework that communicates to your brain, I am in control. Even the smallest morning ritual, executed consistently, rewires your mind for discipline, clarity, and self-respect. 3 months is just long enough for a morning routine to reshape your identity. The point is not to follow the perfect routine. The point is to create a predictable beginning to your day that eliminates chaos and restores agency. When you anchor your day in intention instead of reaction, everything shifts. Your productivity, your mood, your decisions, your energy, and even the way you speak to yourself. Let's break down how this operates. The first rule of winning the morning is simple. No phone for the first 60 minutes after you wake up. This is non-negotiable. Your mind wakes up in a highly programmable state. If you commence your day with digital noise, your brain becomes reactive, scattered, and dependent on stimulation. But if you begin your day with silence, breath, and clarity, your brain becomes concentrated, grounded, and disciplined. The second rule is physical movement. Something small, something simple, something that awakens your body without stress. You don't need a complete workout. You need activation. Movement increases blood flow, sharpens your mind, and signals to your body that today is a day for action, not stagnation. A stretch, a walk, a few minutes of light training, anything that reminds you that your body is a tool, not an obstacle. The third rule is written intention. You must determine your top 3 priorities before the day begins. Not 10 tasks, not a lengthy to-do list that overwhelms you. 3. This brings clarity. It eliminates distractions. It ensures you move with purpose instead of guessing, reacting, or drifting. When your actions align with your priorities, you make progress even on demanding days. The fourth rule is mental priming. This is the part where you establish your mindset for the day. It can be gratitude, reflection, a line of affirmation, or a calm moment with your breath. The point is to enter the day with presence rather than panic. When you begin with grounded thinking, you respond better, work better, and sense better. These 4 rules, silence, movement, intention, and priming, are the foundation. They are simple by design. Complexity destroys consistency. What matters is that you execute them every morning for the next 90 days until they become automatic. Because once your morning shifts, your life shifts. Some mornings you will sense fatigue. Some mornings you will feel unmotivated. Some mornings you will sense the pull to skip your routine and dive straight into the noise. But these are the exact mornings when your routine matters most. Anyone can win the easy morning. Transformation occurs when you win the demanding ones. Discipline isn't constructed through perfect days. It's constructed through imperfect commitment. The beauty of morning rituals is that they create momentum, an invisible force that carries you through the remainder of the day. When you commence your day with discipline, the next decision becomes more manageable. When you begin with clarity, the next task becomes simpler. When you select focus early, distractions lose their power later. You become less chaotic, less reactive, more intentional, more grounded. Momentum compounds. If you win your morning, you win your afternoon. If you win your afternoon, you win your evening. And if you string together enough winning days, you win your 90 days. That is how transformation operates. Not through one massive moment, but through hundreds of small ones. Your morning routine also resets your identity. Every time you follow your routine, even when you don't sense the motivation, you transmit your brain a message. I am someone who appears. This identity will become increasingly powerful as the 90 days advance. The new version of you is not created when the results emerge. It is created when you repeatedly act like the person you want to become, especially in the first hour of your day. Now let's discuss what your morning routine should not include. It should not include stress. It should not include rushing. It should not include negativity, comparison, or digital overload. It should not involve diving straight into work or allowing external demands to dictate your state of mind. It also shouldn't require excessive time, complicated rituals, or an unrealistic schedule. Consistency is the objective, not perfection, not performance. Your morning should be a space for clarity, not chaos. A space for preparation, not pressure. A space where you enter your day as the leader of your life, rather than a follower of your emotions. If you're wondering what a simple, effective morning routine resembles, here's a structure you can utilize for the next 90 days. Wake up, drink water, move lightly, sit in silence for a moment, breathe. Write your top 3 priorities. Read a small portion of something meaningful, and only then step into your day. Nothing dramatic, nothing overwhelming. Just a sequence of choices that construct resilience, focus, and momentum. You don't have to become a morning person. You just have to protect the first part of your day. You have to choose yourself before the world selects you. Because when you begin your day by constructing your mind, fortifying your body, and centering your energy, you become someone who doesn't lose the day to stress, noise, or distraction. This is how you win the next 90 days. Not with intensity, but with intention. Not with force, but with clarity. Not by doing more, but by selecting what matters. 3 months from now, your morning will be the reason everything feels different. Why you think better, work smarter, sense lighter, and move with confidence. It all begins here, with the decision you make every sunrise. Win the morning, win the 90 days, win yourself. Now, before we continue, there is something worth acknowledging. If what you've absorbed so far has already begun to shift something in your thinking, if you can sense the structure forming inside you, pause for a moment and leave the number 1111 in the comments below. In the world of quantum energy, 1111 is the frequency of new beginnings. It is the signal that a doorway has opened, that you are aligning with a version of yourself that is ready to emerge. When you see it in the comments, know that those people are standing at the same threshold you are right now. A community of individuals choosing to begin. Let that number be your declaration. I am starting. I am ready. I am building. Chapter 3. Cut what weakens you. Every transformation begins not only with what you add to your life, but also with what you remove. You cannot construct resilience on top of habits that drain you. You cannot construct clarity on top of noise that distracts you. You cannot construct discipline on top of patterns that sabotage you. If you want these next 90 days to redefine your life, you must learn the courage to eliminate the things that weaken you. This chapter is not about accomplishing more. It is about subtracting. Removing the behaviors, environments, routines, and relationships that make it impossible for you to remain consistent. People believe change emerges from motivation, but real change emerges from elimination. You don't rise because you suddenly become more resilient. You rise because you stop permitting the things that weaken you to remain in control. This is the part most people avoid. It feels more manageable to add new habits than to confront the ones that have been governing your life for years. But nothing shifts until you face the truth. You cannot become the next version of yourself while clinging to the habits of the old one. Consider your last few years. How many times did you establish objectives, grand objectives, beautiful objectives, and fall off track? Not because you weren't capable, but because something small kept pulling you back. A distraction, a toxic routine, a draining person, a pattern you never questioned, a comfort you kept choosing over growth. Your challenge has never been lack of potential. It has been lack of subtraction. For the next 90 days, your mission is simple. Identify the top 3 things that steal your energy, your attention, and your discipline. Then, eliminate them. Not reduce, not manage. Eliminate. If something in your life consistently weakens you, it does not belong in this chapter of your growth. Let's break this down clearly. The first category of things you must eliminate is mental noise. This includes anything that pulls your mind into chaos before you've even begun your day. Overconsumption of news, endless scrolling, reactive thinking, comparison, overanalyzing, and emotional clutter. All of these weaken your focus. Your mind, like your body, has limited resilience each day. If you surrender that resilience before you begin your real work, the day is already compromised. Eliminating mental noise means curating what you allow into your mind. It means unfollowing accounts that trigger insecurity, reducing the digital clutter that clouds your thinking, limiting media that produces fear, anxiety, or outrage. Most importantly, it means establishing mental boundaries. When you're constructing, you don't review your phone. When you're concentrating, you don't let the world interrupt. The second category is environmental noise. Your environment shapes your habits more than motivation ever will. If your room, workspace, or digital space is filled with disorder, your mind will be too. If your environment encourages distraction, you will be distracted. If your environment encourages discipline, discipline becomes automatic. For the next 90 days, declutter aggressively. Remove objects that pull your attention. Create a workspace devoted to focus. Organize your digital environment. Arrange files. Delete unused apps. Remove notifications. Eliminate the physical and digital chaos that steals your clarity. A clean environment is not just aesthetic. It is strategic. It grants you space to think, breathe, and execute. The third category is emotional drains. These drains can emerge from people, obligations, worries, or unresolved conflicts. Emotional exhaustion is one of the greatest destroyers of discipline. You cannot construct a resilient 90 days if you're constantly managing emotional turbulence that isn't yours to carry. This doesn't mean eliminating people you love. It means establishing boundaries with the ones who drain you removing unnecessary commitments, and being honest about what emotional weight is preventing you from advancing. Sometimes, the most powerful form of self-care is saying no. Sometimes, the most transformative action is walking away. Sometimes, growth requires distance. The fourth category is behaviors that sabotage you. These include late nights that destroy your mornings, procrastination disguised as planning, snacking when stressed, hitting snooze, wasting evenings on autopilot entertainment, or telling yourself, "I'll commence tomorrow." These are the invisible habits that quietly erase your potential. They may appear small, but over 90 days, they create massive damage. To eliminate sabotage, you need awareness. Track your patterns. Study yourself honestly. Pay attention to what actions leave you sensing weaker instead of stronger. Replace these behaviors with simple, healthier defaults. A bedtime routine, planned rest, intentional breaks, and outlets that reset your mind instead of draining it. The fifth category is comfort that keeps you stagnant. Comfort is one of the most deceptive traps of modern life. It feels harmless. It feels deserved. It feels like a break. But too much comfort becomes the cage that keeps you from reaching your next level. Comfort is not problematic, but comfort selected at the wrong time destroys transformation. Eliminating excess comfort means choosing challenge intentionally, choosing effort over ease, choosing discipline over impulse. Growth never emerges from what feels good in the moment. It emerges from what feels right in the long run. Now, eliminating does not mean destroying everything that feels familiar. It means recognizing which parts of your current life are restraining you from the life you want to construct. This distinction matters. You're not attempting to punish yourself. You're attempting to liberate yourself. To make this practical, here is a simple exercise for the next 90 days. Write down 3 columns. What weakens my mind? What weakens my environment? What weakens my discipline? Under each, list every habit, behavior, pattern, or influence that drains you. Be brutally honest. Do not soften the truth. Do not justify what you know is harming you. When you finish, select 3 items from the entire list, the 3 greatest drains. These are your eliminations for the next 90 days. Eliminating these 3 drains will accomplish more for your life than adding 10 new habits. When you remove what weakens you, everything else becomes more manageable. Your mind becomes clear. Your energy becomes lighter. Your discipline becomes stronger. And your transformation becomes inevitable. There will be resistance, of course. Your brain will resist you. Old habits will whisper. Comfort will tempt you. Your emotions will negotiate. But remember, resistance is not a signal to stop. It is a signal you are eliminating the right things. Growth always commences with discomfort. Spend these 90 days becoming someone who refuses to let weak routines govern a resilient life. Someone who refuses to let excuses dominate their potential. Someone who chooses clarity over chaos, discipline over distraction, and intentional living over autopilot surviving. This chapter is the turning point, because once you eliminate what weakens you, everything that fortifies you finally has room to grow. Eliminate the noise. Eliminate the drains. Eliminate the patterns that steal your future. And observe how much lighter, more resilient, and more concentrated you become. Chapter 4. The Power of Deep Focus. There is a reason why your life feels scattered, why you commence things you never complete, why you sense busy but never truly advance. It's not because you lack talent. It's not because you lack intelligence. It's because your attention has been fragmented into 1,000 invisible pieces, pulled in every direction by noise, notifications, obligations, and impulses. If you want the next 90 days to shift everything, you must acquire the skill that separates the people who advance from the people who remain stuck. Deep focus. Deep focus is not just about concentration. It is the ability to dedicate your full mind, full attention, and full presence to one meaningful task at a time. This is rare in a world constructed to distract you. This is valuable in a world where everyone is multitasking themselves into mediocrity. And this is transformative in a life where you want real progress, not just motion. In the past, you may have believed that time was the challenge, that if you had more hours, you would accomplish more. But time has never been the limitation. Attention has. A fully concentrated hour produces more progress than a distracted day. A deep work session constructs more skill, more clarity, and more confidence than hours of half effort. You don't need more time. You need fewer leaks. Consider the last time you were deeply concentrated, so immersed in your work that the world around you faded. Perhaps it was during a project you were passionate about, a moment of creativity, a problem you were determined to resolve. In that state, you were powerful. You were present. You were unstoppable. Envision constructing that state deliberately every single day for the next 90 days. Envision what that would accomplish for your objectives, your mindset, your identity. That is what deep focus offers. But before you can acquire deep focus, you must confront the truth. You have been conditioned to be distracted. Every notification trains your mind to react. Every open tab trains you to scatter your attention. Every habit of reviewing your phone trains your brain to crave stimulation instead of remaining with a task. You have practiced distraction far more than you have practiced focus. No wonder focus feels demanding. No wonder discipline feels impossible. No wonder your days feel chaotic. The encouraging news is that your mind is trainable. Focus is a muscle, and over the next 90 days, you will learn to strengthen it every single day. Let's break down what deep focus actually requires. The first requirement is intention. You cannot concentrate deeply on something you haven't defined. Every day, before you begin your hour of transformation, select the one task that matters most. Not the task that is simplest, not the task that is urgent but meaningless, but the task that advances your life forward. Your brain requires a clear target. Without a defined target, it will default to seeking stimulation instead of depth. The second requirement is environment. You cannot produce concentrated work in an environment constructed for distraction. For the next 90 days, your space matters. Your desk, your phone, your apps, your tabs, your surroundings, all of these shape your ability to concentrate. Design your environment so that focus is the default. Remove distractions before you begin. Close everything you don't require. Position your phone far from reach. When you create a space that supports focus, your mind follows. The third requirement is time protection. Deep focus cannot exist in scattered pockets. It requires a block of uninterrupted time, 30, 60, or 90 minutes devoted solely to one task. During this block, you are unavailable to the world. No reviewing messages, no quick browsing, no switching tasks. Your focus becomes sacred. Your attention becomes a contract. The fourth requirement is mental discipline. Your brain will resist. You'll sense the urge to review your phone, to switch tasks, to seek stimulation. That's natural. It's the residue of years of shallow focus. But deep focus requires training your mind to remain, to resist the impulse to escape, to stay present with discomfort. Each time you resist the urge to switch tasks, you fortify your focus muscle. Each time you endure through boredom, you construct mental resilience. Deep focus is not supposed to feel easy. It is supposed to feel powerful. The fifth requirement is intentional breaks. Deep focus doesn't mean grinding endlessly. It means working deeply, resting lightly, and returning fully. After a deep work block, step away, breathe, move. Allow your mind to reset. This reset restores clarity and recharges your energy. Breaks are not a sign of weakness. They are part of the structure that makes deep focus sustainable. Now, let's discuss why deep focus is such a critical component of your 90-day transformation. Because deep focus creates progress, and progress creates identity. When you work deeply, you create things you are proud of. You construct skills faster. You complete what you commence. You make measurable steps toward your objectives. And when you begin producing results, real results, your belief in yourself grows. That belief becomes momentum, and momentum becomes transformation. Here's what most people don't recognize. Distraction destroys not only productivity, but also confidence. Every time you fracture focus, you reinforce the belief that you cannot remain with your commitments. Every time you surrender to distraction, you weaken your identity. But every time you select focus, you fortify it. Deep focus is not just about accomplishing things. It's about proving to yourself that you can follow through. Let's make this practical. For the next 90 days, commit to one deep focus block every day. It can be 30 minutes at the start, then 45, then 60. The duration is not as critical as the consistency. During this block, you select one meaningful task. You eliminate all distractions. You work with full presence. You remain with the task until the block concludes. That's it. Simple, but life-changing. This daily deep focus block becomes the anchor of your growth. It becomes the space where you develop your craft, construct your objectives, train your discipline, and transform your life. And the more consistently you practice it, the more natural it becomes. There will be days when your focus feels sharp. There will be days when it feels impossible. But those are the days that construct you. Those are the days that define your transformation. Not the easy days, the disciplined ones. Remember this: the world rewards those who can accomplish what others struggle to accomplish. And in a world addicted to distraction, the rarest and most valuable skill is deep focus. This skill increases your value. This skill accelerates your growth. This skill unlocks your potential. 3 months of deep focus will shift who you are. It will reshape how you work, how you think, how you create, and how you move through the world. You will become someone calm under pressure, steady in chaos, powerful in your presence, and proud of your discipline. Deep focus is not about productivity. It is about becoming the version of you who honors your time, protects your attention, and constructs your future deliberately. The next 90 days are your training ground. Select your target. Design your environment. Guard your time. Train your mind. And let deep focus become your advantage. Chapter 5. Build skills that pay you back. If you want your next 90 days to truly shift everything, you must redirect your focus from mere effort to meaningful growth. Not just working harder, but constructing skills that pay you back for the remainder of your life. Hard work can make you drained. Skill makes you powerful. Hard work creates effort. Skill creates leverage. When you construct the right skills, your value rises, your confidence rises, and your opportunities multiply. Most people never shift because they spend their days completing tasks that don't construct anything lasting. They check boxes. They remain occupied. They sense productive. But at the end of the week, nothing in their life has elevated. Nothing in their identity has shifted. Nothing in their future has improved. They're moving, but they're not growing. If you want your 90 days to be the turning point of your life, you must make one commitment. For the next 3 months, you will construct at least one skill that upgrades who you are and how you appear in the world. A skill that increases your earning power, fortifies your discipline, or expands your opportunities. A skill that compounds over time. Skills are the real currency of transformation. Consider the most capable version of yourself, the one who is confident, sharp, disciplined, respected, and unstoppable. That version of you did not emerge by accident. They were constructed through training, repetition, focus, and intentional practice. Becoming that person requires learning something that challenges your mind, forces your comfort zone to expand, and fortifies your ability to produce real results. So, the first step in this chapter is clarity. Identify one skill that, if mastered, would make the next version of you significantly more resilient. Not a hobby you might enjoy, not something trivial. A skill with weight, a skill with impact. It might be communication, writing, coding, design, leadership, fitness knowledge, public speaking, emotional control, negotiation, sales, critical thinking, or discipline itself. Select something that elevates your mind and expands your future. Your 90 days require a target. Skill construction provides you with that target. Once you've selected the skill, the next step is commitment. For these 90 days, you become a student again. Not the passive kind, but the powerful kind. The kind who learns actively, practices consistently, and applies rapidly. The kind who doesn't wait for motivation, but appears because growth is non-negotiable. Skill construction is not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's uncomfortable. It's demanding. But it is the one thing that guarantees transformation. When you construct a skill, you construct identity. When you construct identity, you construct belief. And belief is the engine that drives long-term change. Let's break down the mechanics of constructing a skill in 90 days. The first component is deliberate practice. This means practicing intentionally, not randomly. Spending concentrated time executing the action that improves the skill. Not skimming, not daydreaming, not multitasking. If your skill is writing, you write every day. If it's speaking, you record yourself daily. If it's coding, you code consistently. Deliberate practice is uncomfortable because it exposes your weaknesses. But weaknesses are where growth begins. The second component is feedback. You cannot improve a skill in isolation. You must receive feedback from reality, through results, through self-review, through mentors, through metrics. Feedback is not a judgment. It is a mirror. It demonstrates to you where you need to refine your technique, adjust your approach, or deepen your effort. Most people flee from feedback because it bruises their ego. The skilled pursue feedback because it constructs their excellence. The third component is iteration. Skill grows through cycles. You attempt, you fail. You adjust, you attempt again. 90 days is sufficient time to go through multiple cycles of improvement. Do not fear repetition. Repetition is the foundation of mastery. Repetition converts knowledge into instinct. It transforms what you know into who you are. The fourth component is focus blocks. You cannot construct a skill by practicing in scattered bursts. You must dedicate uninterrupted time to training the skill. 30, 60, or 90 minutes a day. During these blocks, you fortify the connection between your mind and your execution. You instruct your brain to go deep, to learn rapidly, to adapt better. The fifth component is application. Skills grow when you utilize them in the real world. If you only practice privately, your growth remains theoretical. But when you apply your skill to projects, conversations, challenges, you accelerate your progress. Real-world use forces creativity, problem-solving, and confidence. The sixth component is identity alignment. You must think like someone who is mastering the skill. You must perceive yourself as a constructor, a learner, a disciplined individual who is upgrading themselves daily. Skill construction is not only about technique, it is about identity. If you perceive yourself as someone inconsistent, you will behave inconsistently. But if you perceive yourself as someone growing, you will grow. Most people abandon skill construction early because the beginning feels sluggish. The first 20 days are awkward. Things don't connect. Progress feels invisible. But invisible progress is still progress. Skill construction operates like compounding interest. The returns are small at first, then suddenly exponential. If you persist long enough, the payoff becomes undeniable. This is why 90 days is the perfect window. Long enough for progress to reveal itself, short enough to keep you concentrated, structured enough to construct momentum, flexible enough to adapt. When you commit to mastering a skill in 90 days, you reshape the way you work, learn, and think. Now, let's discuss energy. Skill construction is energizing, not because it's easy, but because it grants you purpose. When you grow, you sense alive. When you learn, you sense capable. When you improve, you sense proud. Every day you master a small part of the skill, you add fuel to your momentum. That momentum becomes your identity, and identity creates long-term transformation. For the next 90 days, your skill construction routine can resemble this: 15 minutes of theory, acquiring the concepts; 30 minutes of practice, applying the concepts; 15 minutes of reflection, evaluating what worked, what didn't, and what to adjust. Just 1 hour, just 4% of your day. But over 90 days, that equals 90 hours of targeted, powerful, structured growth. 90 hours is sufficient to become noticeably better, sufficient to become respected, sufficient to create opportunities, sufficient to shift your future direction completely. Here's the truth. People don't rise because they are gifted. They rise because they are skilled. And skill is constructed, not inherited. Your 90 days will not reward perfection. They will reward commitment. They will reward consistency. They will reward the person who keeps appearing even when progress is sluggish, even when effort feels demanding, even when doubt surfaces, because doubt always surfaces. Doubt is part of the process. But doubt cannot stop someone who trains. 3 months from now, you will not be the same person. You will perceive the world differently. You will move differently. You will think differently. Because skill shifts the way you perceive yourself and the way the world perceives you. Construct the skill. Construct the identity. Construct the future. Your 90 days commence now. Strengthen your mindset before you fix your life. Every life challenge begins as a mindset challenge. Before your habits fall apart, your thinking does. Before your discipline slips, your beliefs weaken. Before your environment becomes chaotic, your internal world becomes louder than your intentions. This is why so many people attempt to change their lives but remain stuck. They keep fixing the symptoms while avoiding the source. If you want the next 90 days to rewrite everything, you must fortify your mindset before you attempt to fix your life. Your mindset is the operating system behind every decision you make. When your mindset is resilient, even demanding tasks feel possible. When your mindset is fragile, even simple tasks feel burdensome. You've experienced this before. Days when nothing went right because your thoughts weren't right. Days when one setback destroyed your energy. Days when you questioned your abilities, doubted your progress, or convinced yourself that growth was beyond reach. None of that emerged from reality. It emerged from mindset. Here is the truth. You cannot construct a powerful life with a fragile mind. You cannot sustain discipline with a mindset shaped by fear, doubt, and emotional reactivity. And you cannot unlock your potential if you are still being governed by beliefs you didn't select. Your mindset must be fortified, upgraded, and reinforced daily. Just like any other skill. The mind is not something you fix once. It is something you train, something you prepare, something you fortify. The next 90 days will compel you to grow, to stretch, to push beyond your comfort zone. For that, your mindset must be prepared. Let's break down the foundation of a resilient mindset. The first component is ownership. Your mindset will not shift until you stop blaming circumstances, people, timing, or luck. Ownership does not mean everything that occurred to you is your fault. It means the responsibility for your next chapter is yours alone. Ownership reclaims your power. When you own your choices, you own your results. When you own your mistakes, you own your transformation. A resilient mindset begins with the courage to declare, "My life is my responsibility from this moment forward." The second component is emotional regulation. Most people are governed by their emotions. When they're motivated, they act. When they're drained, they surrender. When they're frightened, they freeze. When they're overwhelmed, they avoid. This is a fragile foundation. Your mindset cannot be constructed on feelings because feelings are unpredictable. A resilient mindset learns to sense emotion without obeying it, to breathe through stress, to pause before reacting, to respond based on intention, not impulse. When you regulate your emotions, you reclaim your clarity. The third component is mental reframing. Your thoughts shape your reality, not because of magic, but because your actions follow the meaning you assign to events. A setback becomes either a reason to surrender or a reason to learn. A challenge becomes either resistance or training. A failure becomes either shame or feedback. Your life advances in the direction of your interpretations. Fortify your interpretations, and your life fortifies with them. The fourth component is resilience. A powerful mindset is not one that never fractures. It is one that rebuilds rapidly. Life will interrupt you in the next 90 days. Something will go wrong. Something will distract you. Something will test your discipline. Most people stop when this occurs, but those who transform are the ones who reset rapidly. They don't spiral. They don't sabotage. They breathe, recenter, and return. Resilience is your ability to restart without losing momentum. The fifth component is identity alignment. You act according to who you believe you are. If you believe you're inconsistent, you will behave inconsistently. If you believe you're undisciplined, you will avoid discipline. But if you begin to perceive yourself as someone who follows through, your actions shift. Mindset strengthening is identity strengthening. The next 90 days require you to speak to yourself like someone becoming powerful, not someone remaining stuck. Now, let's make this practical. For the next 90 days, your mornings begin with a mindset reset. Before you act, you align. This means grounding your thoughts, remembering your intention, and selecting who you want to be before the world influences you. Many people wake up into survival mode. You will wake up into leadership mode, leading your mind instead of letting it lead you. Commence each morning with a 3-part mental check-in. 1. What am I thinking right now? You identify the thought governing your mind. Awareness is the first step to control. 2. Is this thought helping me or weakening me? Most thoughts don't need to be believed. They just need to be examined. 3. What is the more resilient thought I select instead? You redirect your mind toward clarity, not chaos. This daily exercise, though simple, will completely shift the direction of your life. When you discipline your thoughts, you discipline your actions. When you discipline your actions, you discipline your results. Another powerful technique for fortifying your mindset is pattern interruption. Whenever your mind falls into old loops, procrastination, fear, self-doubt, excuses, you interrupt the pattern with a physical action. Stand up, breathe deeply, ground your feet, or speak a command out loud like, "Stop, refocus." This interruption fractures the automatic cycle and grants you space to select differently. You must also practice mental subtraction. Most people attempt to improve their lives by adding more tasks, more pressure, more expectations. But your mindset fortifies fastest when you remove the thoughts that weaken you. Remove catastrophic thinking. Remove all or nothing thinking. Remove narratives that tell you you're behind. Remove the habit of judging yourself before you even attempt. When you subtract mental noise, clarity emerges. Your mindset also grows through exposure to discomfort. Growth does not emerge from convenience. It emerges from stretching yourself. Each time you accomplish something demanding, waking up early, pushing through a challenging workout, having a tough conversation, practicing when you don't sense the motivation, you demonstrate to your mind that you're capable of more than your excuses. This constructs grit. And grit is the kind of resilience that transforms a 90-day commitment into a lifelong shift. One of the most critical mindset practices in this chapter is reflection. At the conclusion of each day, pause and ask yourself, what did I accomplish today that made me more resilient? Where did my mindset slip? What can I adjust tomorrow? Reflection converts experience into wisdom. Without reflection, you repeat your mistakes. With reflection, you refine them. The more you fortify your mindset, the less effort everything else requires. With a fragile mindset, life feels burdensome. With a resilient mindset, life feels intentional. With a fragile mindset, obstacles stop you. With a resilient mindset, obstacles sharpen you. These 90 days are not only about constructing habits, they're about constructing the mental resilience to maintain those habits long after motivation fades. In the next chapter, you will learn how to confront the demanding things you've been avoiding. But for now, remember this: your life cannot outgrow your mindset. Fortify the mind, and the life will follow. These next 90 days are not about becoming perfect. They're about becoming mentally unshakable. Someone who selects clarity over confusion, purpose over impulse, and growth over comfort. Fortify your mindset, and everything else will fall into place. Chapter 7. Face the hard things you've avoided. Every person who transforms their life eventually arrives at the same moment. The moment when they must confront the demanding things they've been avoiding. The uncomfortable conversations, the unresolved conflicts, the financial disorder they keep postponing, the habits they pretend aren't a challenge, the fears they never address, the truth they don't want to face. Avoidance is the silent thief of potential. It steals years quietly, softly, without resistance. And if you want the next 90 days to change everything, you must stop fleeing from the things that weaken you and start confronting them with purpose. Avoiding demanding things doesn't mean you're fragile. It means you're human. The brain is designed to advance toward comfort and flee from discomfort. But comfort is a deceiver. Comfort promises relief, then delivers regret. Every time you avoid something critical, you pay the price twice. Once in the anxiety of postponing it, and again in the consequences of not executing it. Avoidance keeps you trapped in cycles you already know too well. Confronting the demanding things is not just an action, it is an identity shift. It is you declaring, "I will no longer construct my life around fear." It is you refusing to let procrastination dictate your future. It is you selecting resilience over emotional convenience. This is the point where transformation stops being passive and becomes powerful. The next 90 days demand that you stop negotiating with avoidance. You have objectives. You have aspirations. You have a future awaiting you. But none of it can unfold until you confront what's been restraining you. Let's break down the truth. The things you avoid are the exact things that would shift your life the fastest. The conversation you're afraid to have would bring relief. The documents you're avoiding would bring order. The training you keep postponing would bring confidence. The habit you refuse to break would bring energy. The challenge you're concealing from would bring clarity. Your next level is always behind the door you don't want to open. Confronting demanding things doesn't mean you must be fearless. It means you act even when fear is present. It means you appear with courage even when discomfort surfaces. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to obey it. To commence this chapter, ask yourself a simple question. What have I been avoiding that I know I must address? Don't overthink. Your mind already knows. The answer emerges rapidly because it has been sitting in your chest for months, perhaps years. That answer is your beginning. Now, let's break down the process of confronting demanding things in a way that is structured, achievable, and transformative. The first step is naming the discomfort. You cannot confront what you refuse to identify. Write down the top 3 things you've been avoiding. Be honest. Be specific. The brain attempts to blur challenges so they feel less threatening. You must bring them into clarity. Clarity grants you power. The second step is fracturing the emotional charge. Most avoided tasks are not actually demanding. They are emotionally loaded. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the sensation attached to the task. The fear of conflict, the fear of embarrassment, the fear of discomfort. When you separate the task from the emotion, the task becomes manageable. You weaken avoidance by acknowledging emotion instead of fleeing from it. The third step is simplifying the action. Avoidance thrives on overwhelm. The larger a task feels, the more your mind resists it. Reduce the demanding thing into small, specific actions. A phone call, a message, a document, a conversation, a decision. When you diminish the task, you diminish the fear. The fourth step is establishing a deadline. Demanding things don't occur without urgency. The next 90 days require commitment, and commitment requires deadlines. Establish a precise date and time for each demanding task. Place it on your calendar. Treat it like an appointment with your future self. The fifth step is taking the first uncomfortable step immediately. Not tomorrow, not when things settle, today. The longer you wait, the heavier the task becomes. Taking action rapidly disrupts the cycle of avoidance. Action is the antidote to fear. The sixth step is celebrating the shift, not the outcome. The victory is not completing the task. It's becoming the kind of person who no longer avoids it. Every demanding thing you confront makes you more resilient, more grounded, more disciplined. It rewires your identity. You stop being someone who delays life and become someone who leads it. Confronting demanding things creates momentum like nothing else. When you address the tasks that once intimidated you, your mind expands, your confidence grows, your self-respect skyrockets. Avoidance diminishes. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust becomes the foundation of your transformation. Let's discuss the mindset behind avoidance. Avoidance is a short-term coping mechanism that creates long-term damage. It offers temporary comfort, but guarantees future stress. When you avoid something, your mind becomes restless. You sense tension, guilt, anxiety, and pressure. You carry the weight of what you're avoiding into every day. That weight drains your energy and destroys your focus. No wonder your progress feels sluggish. Your mind is carrying unspoken burdens. But when you confront demanding things, the opposite occurs. You release the weight. You reclaim your energy. You restore mental clarity. Demanding tasks rarely require as long as we fear. What requires time is the emotional accumulation, the internal negotiation, the days spent postponing. Confronting the task itself is almost always more manageable than avoiding it. Avoidance also weakens identity. Every time you avoid something critical, you communicate to yourself, "I can't handle this." Every time you confront something critical, you communicate to yourself, "I am capable." Identity is constructed on self-messages repeated through action. Confronting demanding things constructs identity faster than any other habit. Your 90-day transformation depends on this shift. Because every objective you want, discipline, health, financial stability, confidence, focus, requires you to confront some version of discomfort. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. You cannot avoid discomfort and expect transformation. Here's how you apply this chapter, commencing now. Today, yes, today, select the one demanding thing that has been sitting in your mind the longest, the one thing that creates a quiet tension every time you think about it, the one thing you always push to tomorrow. Execute it today. Send the message. Make the call. Organize the space. Apologize. Tell the truth. Establish the boundary. Conclude the habit. Commence the training. That single action will create a shockwave through your identity. It will communicate to your brain that you are no longer the person who conceals. You are the person who acts. The next 90 days will contain moments of resistance. Your mind will attempt to convince you to delay again. But you will not retreat. You will not let avoidance steal your progress. You will not surrender your growth to fear. Instead, you will accomplish what resilient people accomplish. You will confront the demanding things. You will execute them early. You will execute them clearly. You will execute them without drama. You will execute them because your future demands it. And when you've confronted enough demanding things, something incredible occurs. You become unshakable. You cannot be intimidated by the world because you do not conceal from yourself. You move differently. You think differently. You act differently. You are lighter, clearer, and more resilient. Confronting the demanding things you've avoided is not just a chapter. It is a transformation inside your transformation. It is the moment your new life begins. Now, pause for a moment. If you've arrived at this point in your journey and you can sense the weight beginning to lift, if confronting even one hard thing this week has shifted how you see yourself, leave the number 444 in the comments below. In quantum energy, 444 is the frequency of foundation and protection. It means you are being supported. It means the work you're doing is real. It means your foundation is being constructed, brick by brick, decision by decision. When you see that number in the comments from others on the Elite Success Audiobooks channel, know that those people are building the same foundation you are. You are not alone in this construction. You never were. Chapter 8. Design an environment that wins for you. Discipline becomes 10 times more manageable when your environment supports your objectives, and 10 times more demanding when your environment resists them. Most people blame themselves for lack of focus, lack of consistency, or lack of motivation. But the truth is much simpler. Your environment is training you even when you don't notice it. It shapes your habits, your energy, your clarity, and even your identity. You rise or fall to the level of the environment you inhabit. If your room is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic. If your digital space is cluttered, your attention will be scattered. If your surroundings encourage comfort, you will select comfort. If your environment is filled with distractions, you will exist distracted. This is not a personality challenge, it's a design challenge. You do not require more willpower to transform your next 90 days. You require an environment that reduces friction, removes temptation, and makes discipline feel natural. When your space is aligned with your objectives, your habits become almost automatic. This chapter will demonstrate how to design an environment that wins for you, not against you. Let's begin with the most critical truth. Environment surpasses motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline requires effort. But environment is always active. It influences you without requiring your permission. If your environment encourages growth, you will grow even on low-energy days. If it encourages distraction, you will fall into distraction even when you want to concentrate. That's why the most accomplished people in the world obsess over their environment. They remove what weakens them. They organize what fortifies them. They design their surroundings to protect their time, attention, and energy. To shift your life in 90 days, you must accomplish the same. Let's break this into 4 layers of environment design: physical, digital, social, and mental. When all 4 are aligned, transformation becomes inevitable. 1. Physical environment. Your space shapes your state. Your physical surroundings are the foundation of your habits. When your space is clean, organized, and intentional, it becomes more manageable to think clearly and act decisively. Commence with your room. Your room is a reflection of your mind and a trainer of it. If your bed is disorganized, if your desk is cluttered, if your floor is covered with things you disregard, you're not just observing a mess, you're observing friction. Every piece of clutter is a tiny decision, a micro-distraction, a reminder of something incomplete. This drains mental bandwidth and weakens discipline. Your objective is to eliminate friction. Organize your room. Arrange your belongings. Eliminate items you don't utilize. Keep your desk minimalistic. 1 notebook, 1 pen, 1 laptop. Design your space so that when you sit down to work, your mind is already halfway into a concentrated state. You're not creating a perfect aesthetic. You're creating a clear path for your mind. Next, establish a dedicated workspace. Even if it's compact, a place where you train your skill, complete your deep focus sessions, or work on your objectives. When your brain associates a specific location with productivity, it becomes more manageable to enter that mindset automatically. Your environment should not resist your identity. It should reinforce it. 2. Digital environment, the silent destroyer of your attention. Your digital world is part of your environment, and it's often the most hazardous part. Unlike a disorganized desk, digital clutter is invisible. Notifications, endless tabs, social media feeds, algorithm traps. They pull your mind in every direction. To transform in 90 days, you must take control of your digital space. Commence by reorganizing your phone. Remove apps you don't utilize. Relocate distracting apps off your home screen. Disable notifications for anything that isn't urgent or meaningful. If your phone is constantly pulling your attention, it governs you. Your phone must become a tool, not a master. Declutter your laptop. Close tabs you've abandoned. Delete unnecessary files. Simplify your workspace. Create folders for clarity. When your digital environment is clean, your mind becomes lighter. Establish focus mode rituals. Phone out of reach. Laptop in full screen mode. Tabs limited to only what you require. Notifications silenced. Your mind will be grateful. Your work will improve. Your stress will decrease. Your focus will sharpen. Deep transformation requires deep attention, and deep attention requires digital simplicity. 3. Social environment. People influence you. More than you realize, your environment isn't just physical or digital, it's also human. The people surrounding you shape your behavior, your standards, and your identity. For the next 90 days, you must be intentional about the energy you permit into your life. Some people support your growth, some people sabotage it. Some inspire you, some drain you. Some push you forward, some restrain you without even meaning to. This doesn't mean you eliminate everyone, it means you adjust access. People who discourage growth receive less of your time. People who support your objectives receive more. People who drain your energy receive boundaries. People who inspire you receive proximity. Surround yourself with people who discuss objectives, not gossip. Progress, not drama. Solutions, not challenges. If you don't have these people yet, you can create this environment through content. Books, videos, audiobooks, mentors online. Even virtual proximity can influence your identity. You're always becoming more like your environment. Select wisely. 4. Mental environment. The inner space. The internal environment you inhabit is the most powerful one. Your thoughts, beliefs, narratives, and self-talk. If your mental environment is chaotic, your actions will be chaotic. If your mind is filled with negativity, fear, or self-criticism, your progress will always feel burdensome. To transform your mental environment, construct a daily mindset reset. Morning silence, breathing, reflection, clear intentions, gratitude. 3 priorities. You must create a mental space that supports clarity, not confusion. That nurtures discipline, not doubt. That encourages growth, not avoidance. Your mental environment becomes the filter through which you experience your life. Fortify it, and everything else becomes more manageable. Why environment design changes everything. Because environment removes decision fatigue. Because environment reduces friction. Because environment shapes identity. Because environment determines behavior. Because environment converts discipline into a default, not a struggle. When your environment is aligned with your objectives, you no longer resist yourself. You no longer waste energy resisting distractions. You no longer rely solely on willpower. You create a system where resilient choices become the natural choices. You stop battling your surroundings and start being supported by them. A simple 90-day environment reset. To make this chapter actionable, here's your environment reset for the next 90 days. Day 1 to 3, physical declutter. Day 4 to 7, digital cleanup. Day 8 to 14, social boundaries. Day 15 to 21, mental reset rituals. Day 22 through 90, maintain, refine, optimize. This cycle will transform how you think, how you work, and how you appear. Identity through environment. Your environment transmits signals to your brain about who you are. A clean desk declares, "I'm someone who is concentrated." A phone with notifications disabled declares, "I'm someone who protects my attention." A room free of clutter declares, "I'm someone who respects my space." A dedicated corner for deep work declares, "I'm someone who constructs." A morning ritual declares, "I'm someone who leads my life." Identity is constructed through cues, and environment is the most resilient cue you possess. Design your environment intentionally, and your identity will follow. Your next 90 days begin here. These next 90 days will not reward perfection. They will reward structure. They will reward clarity. They will reward intentional design. When you establish your life to support your objectives, growth becomes more manageable than remaining the same. Design your environment. Remove friction. Fortify your focus. Protect your mind. Shape your identity. Because when your environment wins, you win. Chapter 9. Track, review, and adjust weekly. One of the greatest reasons people fail to transform their lives is simple. They don't track anything. They don't measure their progress. They don't review their choices. They don't adjust their strategy. They hope things are improving, but they never verify. And in the absence of clarity, guesswork takes over. Guesswork leads to inconsistency. Inconsistency leads to disappointment. And disappointment leads to surrendering. If you want your next 90 days to transform your life, you must stop guessing and commence tracking. What gets measured improves. What gets reviewed accelerates. What gets adjusted becomes unstoppable. A 90-day transformation is not a straight line. It is a cycle of learning, refining, and rising. Tracking is the process. Review is the awareness. Adjustment is the evolution. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. Avoiding the truth doesn't protect you. It weakens you. But when you track your actions honestly, you take control. You convert every day into data. You convert every week into insight. You convert every mistake into information. Tracking doesn't judge you. It teaches you. The objective of this chapter is simple. Make tracking and weekly review your new superpower. Because if you commit to this practice for 90 days, your growth will be undeniable. Let's begin with the truth. Your memory is unreliable. It forgets victories. It exaggerates failures. It distorts progress. You cannot rely on feelings to assess your growth. They deceive. Feelings fluctuate too rapidly. Your progress will often feel invisible until the data reveals it. Tracking makes your progress visible. When you track your habits, your focus, your energy, and your output, you create a mirror for your life. A mirror that demonstrates exactly where you're resilient, where you're slipping, and where you must adjust. That awareness is the key to transformation. The 3 pillars of the tracking system. For the next 90 days, you will track 3 categories: actions, energy, results. Actions measure what you accomplished. Energy measures how you sensed. Results measure what improved. This triad grants you a complete picture: behavior, state, and outcome. Most people only examine outcomes, and that's why they surrender. They don't observe immediate results, so they assume nothing is operating. But results are always the last thing to emerge. Actions and energy shift first. You must track the early signals of progress before the grand changes arrive. Let's break down each pillar. 1. Track actions. Your daily evidence. Every day, track the following. Did you execute your 1 hour of concentrated work? Did you follow your morning routine? Did you remain consistent with your key habit? Did you eliminate your 3 greatest drains? Did you practice your selected skill? Utilize simple checkboxes, not paragraphs, not essays. Tracking must be effortless, or you won't execute it. Your actions are the backbone of your transformation. Even if your results aren't visible yet, your actions are proof that you're constructing momentum. 2. Track energy, your internal data. Your energy communicates what your body and mind are experiencing. Track it daily on a scale of 1 to 5. 1. Exhausted. 3. Neutral. 5. Resilient. Energy tracking reveals patterns most people overlook. Perhaps your energy decreases on days when you stay up late. Perhaps it rises after exercise. Perhaps it crashes after certain foods, tasks, or people. Energy is information, and once you observe patterns, you can adjust intelligently. 3. Track results, your weekly progress. Results should be reviewed weekly, not daily. Daily results create anxiety. Weekly results create clarity. Every 7 days, review what improved, what remained the same, what slipped, what surprised you. Your weekly review is where understanding becomes power. The power of the weekly reset. The weekly reset is the ritual that will elevate your next 90 days more than anything else. It is your moment to pause the chaos, step back, and examine your life with clarity. Most people rush through their weeks without reflecting. They keep repeating the same mistakes because they never stop long enough to examine them. Your weekly reset stops the autopilot. It converts your life into a conscious creation. Here's your weekly reset ritual. Step 1. Review your actions. Examine your checkboxes. Count your victories. Count your misses. This is not about perfection. It's about awareness. If you accomplish even 60 to 70% of your actions, you are making progress. Consistency is not accomplishing everything every day. Consistency is executing the right things more often than not. Step 2. Review your energy. Study your patterns. Which days felt burdensome? Which days felt light? What influenced those shifts? Awareness helps you optimize your week. You can adjust your sleep, your routines, your workload, and your boundaries based on what your energy reveals. Step 3. Review your results. Search for small victories, a clearer mind, a more organized space, a completed task, a more resilient skill, a better mood. Progress isn't always dramatic. It's often subtle until it becomes undeniable. Step 4. Identify one thing to improve. Next week, not 10 things. 1. Improvement thrives on focus. If you resolve one thing every week, that's 12 improvements in 90 days. That is massive. Step 5. Reset your space. Organize your desk. Arrange your tools. Prepare your environment. A fresh environment signals a fresh week. This small ritual boosts clarity more than you realize. Step 6. Rewrite your priorities. Select your top 3 objectives for the next week. This direction prevents drift. With priorities established, your actions become intentional. Step 7. Recommit. Declare it out loud. I'm not here to repeat last week. I'm here to rise. Recommitment is identity training. Every week you fortify the belief that you are someone who appears. Why tracking creates transformation? Because tracking destroys the illusion of failure. Because tracking reveals your real patterns. Because tracking increases your awareness. Because tracking eliminates emotional guessing. Because tracking demonstrates progress long before the mirror does. Because tracking keeps you honest. Because tracking grants you power. Most importantly, tracking constructs trust with yourself. Every box you check is evidence that you are becoming the person you declared you would be. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Confidence is the foundation of discipline. And discipline is the foundation of transformation. The identity shift that emerges from tracking. Tracking doesn't just shift behavior, it shifts identity. When you track your day, you become someone who pays attention. When you review your week, you become someone who learns. When you adjust your strategy, you become someone who evolves. Your 90-day transformation becomes a personal evolution instead of random effort. What occurs after 90 days of tracking? By the conclusion of this journey, you will know your patterns intimately. You will understand what drains you, what fortifies you, what motivates you, what distracts you, what energizes you, and what slows you down. You will design your life based on data, not feelings. You will operate from clarity, not confusion. You will no longer fear setbacks because you will know how to analyze them. You will no longer fear failure because you will know how to adjust. You will no longer fear sluggish progress because you will observe it constructing in real time. Tracking removes the fear of the unknown. You cannot be lost when you know where you stand. Your transformation depends on this ritual. The next 90 days are not about perfection. They are about awareness, refinement, and elevation. If you accomplish nothing else but track, review, and adjust weekly, you will transform because you will be living consciously, intentionally, and powerfully. The untracked life repeats. The tracked life evolves. Track your actions, review your patterns, adjust your path. This is how you rise. Chapter 10. Identity Shift. Become the person who doesn't quit. Every transformation eventually arrives at the same threshold. The moment when habits aren't sufficient, systems aren't sufficient, discipline isn't sufficient. Because all of those tools, powerful as they are, depend on something deeper. Identity. How you perceive yourself. Who you believe you are. What standard you expect yourself to maintain. Without an identity shift, the old version of you will always pull you back. With an identity shift, the old version of you loses all power. This final chapter is not about creating a new habit or adding another routine. It's about becoming someone else. Someone more resilient, clearer, more capable, and more committed than you've ever been. Someone you would have admired years ago. Someone you can trust. Someone who doesn't quit. For 90 days, you've been constructing discipline, clarity, courage, focus, structure, and resilience. But the most critical transformation is occurring inside you. You are shifting from a person who hopes to change into a person who expects to win. Identity is the root of all behavior. You cannot act consistently in a way that contradicts who you believe you are. That's why motivation fails. That's why habits failed. But identity, the story you communicate to yourself about yourself, persists. If your identity declares, "I'm inconsistent," you'll surrender. If your identity declares, "I'm not disciplined," you'll avoid effort. If your identity declares, "I always fall off," you'll repeat old patterns. But if your identity shifts to, "I am someone who follows through," everything changes. Everything. You act differently. You think differently. You select differently. You appear differently. Identity creates gravity, pulling your behavior into alignment with your self-perception. And for the next 90 days, your greatest mission is to construct an identity that matches your highest potential. Let's break down the pillars of an unstoppable identity. 1. Identity is constructed through repetition, not intention. You don't become disciplined because you want to be. You become disciplined because you repeatedly act like a disciplined person. Every time you select consistency over excuses, your identity fortifies. Every time you appear on a demanding day, your identity evolves. Every time you restart after slipping, your identity rewrites itself. Identity is not a dream, it is a pattern. Identity is not a wish, it is a decision repeated. Identity is not who you were, it is who you are practicing to become. For 90 days, you have been practicing a more resilient version of yourself. Now, that version is prepared to take over. 2. Identity requires releasing the old you. There is a version of you that must be left behind, the one who procrastinated, avoided, hesitated, made excuses, feared failure, and settled for less. This version of you was familiar, but it wasn't powerful. It brought you this far, but it cannot take you further. The old you was constructed for survival. The new you is constructed for elevation. Releasing doesn't require shame. It requires recognition. It requires honesty. It requires acceptance that you are finished repeating that identity. You are finished replaying that story. You are finished existing at half strength. Your life shifts when you finally declare, "I'm no longer available for the person I used to be." 3. Identity thrives on standards. A resilient identity doesn't depend on motivation, it depends on standards. Standards are rules you live by, expectations you refuse to negotiate, lines you do not cross. For example, I don't skip my hour. I keep my space clean. I complete what I commence. I don't engage in distraction. I don't abandon myself when things become demanding. These are not objectives, these are standards. Objectives create direction, standards create identity, and identity creates transformation. 4. Identity requires proof. If you want to become someone who doesn't quit, you require evidence. Actions that demonstrate to your brain that you are that person. Proof constructs belief. Belief fortifies identity. Identity drives behavior. Examine your 90 days. You have appeared. You have concentrated deeply. You have removed distractions. You have improved your environment. You have trained your discipline. You have acquired new skills. You have confronted demanding things. You have tracked your progress. That is proof, real proof, identity-shifting proof. Your mind cannot dispute evidence. 5. Identity forms through language. The way you communicate to yourself determines your trajectory. Most people speak to themselves like an adversary, critical, harsh, doubtful, dismissive. That language weakens identity, weakens confidence, and weakens follow-through. Your identity requires a new vocabulary. I follow through. I don't negotiate with weakness. I accomplish demanding things. I honor my commitments. I select growth over comfort. These are not affirmations, they are identity declarations, and identity declarations guide behavior. 6. Identity is reinforced by small victories, not grand moments. People believe transformation emerges from dramatic successes. It doesn't. It emerges from micro-victories repeated daily. The tiny decisions you make when no one is observing. Waking up on time. Completing a session you didn't want to commence. Selecting focus over distraction. Selecting honesty over avoidance. Selecting discipline over comfort. These small victories are bricks. Over 90 days, you've been constructing a new foundation, one brick at a time. Now the structure is real. The identity is real. You have become someone more resilient than your excuses. 7. Identity requires self-respect. You cannot sustain transformation without respecting yourself. Self-respect grows when your actions align with your values. When you accomplish what you declare you'll accomplish. When you refuse to betray yourself for momentary comfort. These 90 days have taught you something powerful. Every time you honor a promise to yourself, you rise. Every time you fracture a promise to yourself, you fall. A person who doesn't quit is a person who respects themselves sufficiently to persevere. 8. Identity emerges when you appear on the demanding days. Anyone can act disciplined when they sense good. Anyone can appear when they're motivated. Anyone can commit when life is calm. But the person who doesn't quit, the identity you are becoming, is constructed on the days that test you, the days that push you, the days when excuses feel loud and energy feels diminished. Appearing on those days is what separates the old you from the new you. Demanding days are not interruptions. They are opportunities. They are where identity is sculpted. A resilient identity is not about consistency without struggle. It's about consistency despite struggle. 9. Identity is a choice you renew daily. You don't become a new person once. You select to be that person again and again. Every morning you recommit. Every decision you reinforce. Every action you embody. Identity is not static. It is alive, and you are shaping it with every choice. For these 90 days, you have been selecting resilience. Now that resilience is selecting you back. 10. Identity determines your future. Outcome follows identity, not the other way around. When you embody the identity of someone who doesn't quit, your life expands in ways you once considered impossible. Confidence rises, discipline stabilizes, opportunities open, momentum accelerates. You stop sabotaging yourself. You stop abandoning your progress. You stop diminishing to fit your old patterns. You become the person you once required, someone you trust, someone you respect, someone you follow. This identity will carry you far beyond these 90 days. Your transformation has reached its turning point. You constructed habits. You constructed discipline. You constructed clarity. You constructed resilience. You constructed courage. You constructed structure. But most importantly, you constructed a new you. The 90 days aren't the finish line. They're the foundation of your future. Continue becoming the person who doesn't quit. Continue selecting the identity that elevates your life. Continue embodying the standards that fortified you. The world changes when you change, and you have changed. This chapter isn't the conclusion. It's the beginning of a new identity, the most resilient one you've ever inhabited. The next 90 days begin with you. 90 days ago, you commenced this journey with a simple idea that a concentrated, intentional season of your life could change everything. And now, standing at the conclusion of this audiobook, you know that idea wasn't just inspiring, it was true. You've demonstrated to yourself that transformation is not a mystery. It's not luck. It's not something reserved for the gifted or the fortunate. Transformation is a choice, one decision repeated over time, 1 hour protected every day, one standard raised again and again until the person you're becoming replaces the person you once were. You've learned how to win your mornings, protect your focus, remove what weakens you, and construct what fortifies you. You've learned how to engineer your environment, regulate your emotions, and train your mind. You've learned how to track your actions, review your patterns, and adjust your path. And you've learned the truth at the center of this entire journey. The most powerful change emerges from the identity you select to embody. You are not the same person who commenced this. Your mindset is sharper. Your discipline is more resilient. Your awareness is deeper. Your confidence is real. You've confronted demanding things you used to avoid. You've mastered small victories you once overlooked. You've existed intentionally instead of drifting mindlessly. And even if these 90 days weren't perfect, even if you stumbled, missed days, or struggled, you persevered. And that persistence is the greatest victory of all. Perfection was never required. Consistency was. And you appeared with more consistency, more courage, and more clarity than you ever believed you could. This journey has always been about becoming someone you're proud of, someone you trust, someone you respect, someone who no longer surrenders their potential to distraction, fear, or comfort, someone who leads their life instead of reacting to it. The conclusion of this audiobook does not mean the conclusion of your transformation. It means the beginning of a new chapter, one where your identity is resilient enough to carry you forward. You now understand that every 90 days offers another opportunity to rise, another chance to refine, reset, and rebuild, another season to become more aligned with the person you want to be. Envision what your life could resemble if you repeated this process again. Another 90 days of clarity, another 90 days of deep focus, another 90 days of skill construction, another 90 days of momentum, another 90 days of identity fortifying. Where would you be 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now? Transformation compounds, identity compounds, discipline compounds, and you now possess the blueprint for creating any version of your future you desire. This audiobook wasn't about granting you motivation. It was about granting you a system, a structure, a mindset, a way of existing that makes growth inevitable. you now know something most people never discover. Your life does not change in the future. Your life changes in the hour you commit to today. It changes the moment you decide to protect your attention. It changes the moment you select clarity over chaos. It changes the moment you take responsibility instead of waiting for circumstances. It changes the moment you act even when you don't feel prepared. Everything changes the moment you do. So, as you step out of these 90 days and into the next chapter of your life, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. Celebrate your growth. Honor the work you've accomplished. You didn't just construct habits, you constructed a foundation. You didn't just develop discipline, you developed identity. You didn't just shift your actions, you shifted who you are. And now, the real question becomes, what will you accomplish with this version of yourself? Will you settle back into old patterns? Or will you continue rising into your potential? Will you let life pull you off track? Or will you lead your life with the clarity you've earned? Will you return to who you were? Or will you keep becoming who you're meant to be? Only you can answer that. But the fact that you arrived here to the conclusion of this journey communicates something undeniable. You are prepared for more. Prepared for discipline. Prepared for growth. Prepared for power. Prepared for a life constructed with intention, not accident. Your next 90 days begin the moment you decide they will. So, take a breath, stand tall, carry forward everything you've learned, and let the most resilient version of you lead from here. And as you close this final chapter, there is one last thing to leave behind, not just in your mind, but in this community. If these 90 days have shifted something real inside you, if you can sense the identity emerging, if you know, not just hope, but genuinely know that you are not the same person who started this journey, leave the number 888 in the comments below on the Elite Success Audiobooks channel. In quantum energy, 888 represents the infinite loop of abundance. It is the frequency of everything compounding, discipline compounding, identity compounding, momentum compounding, without end. When you leave that number, you are not just commenting. You are declaring to the universe, to this community, and most importantly to yourself, that the cycle of your transformation has no finish line. That you are someone who builds without stopping. That you are someone who rises without permission. That the best version of you is not behind you. It is ahead of you, waiting, already in motion. The future is yours. Go create it. You are not here by accident. Something inside you, deeper than habit, older than any excuse you have ever made, guided you to this audiobook. And the fact that you are still here, still listening, still choosing to invest in yourself, already tells me everything I need to know about who you are becoming. Most people will never do what you are doing right now. Most people will spend their entire lives waiting for the right moment, the right motivation, the right circumstances. They will postpone their growth until tomorrow, and then postpone it again, and again, until the years pass and the life they imagined remains exactly that. Imagined. But not you. You chose differently. You chose to show up, and that single choice, repeated over 90 days, is the reason everything in your life is about to change. Think about who you were when you first pressed play. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you were frustrated. Maybe you had tried before and fallen short, and a quiet voice inside you wondered if this time would be any different. That voice is normal. Every person who has ever transformed their life has heard that same voice. The difference between those who changed and those who didn't was never talent. It was never perfect timing. It was never a lucky break. It was simply this: they kept going anyway. And so did you. You have just absorbed a complete system for the most powerful 90 days of your life. You now understand that discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build, 1 hour at a time, 1 morning at a time, 1 decision at a time. You understand that your environment is not just a backdrop to your life. It is an active force shaping your identity every single day. You understand that the hard things you have been avoiding are not obstacles to your growth. They are the doorway to it. And you understand that deep focus, skill construction, mindset fortifying, and consistent tracking are not optional extras for extraordinary people. They are the simple, daily practices that convert ordinary people into unstoppable ones. That is you now. Ordinary becoming unstoppable, 1 hour at a time. Here is what I want you to truly absorb in this moment. The 90 days ahead of you are not a test you can fail. They are a practice you can only improve. There will be mornings when your routine slips. There will be weeks when your tracking feels incomplete. There will be days when the hard things win and the discipline wavers. And on every single one of those days, the only thing that matters is that you return. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just quietly, firmly, without negotiation. You return because you are someone who doesn't quit. Because that is the identity you are constructing, brick by brick, day by day. 90 days from now, you will look back at this moment, and you will not remember it as the day you listened to an audiobook. You will remember it as the day you decided. The day you stopped waiting for your life to change and started building the change yourself. The day you claimed your hour. The day you won your morning. The day you cut what was weakening you and replaced it with something that made you stronger. That day is today. And here is something most people never allow themselves to feel. Pride. Not the pride that comes from applause or recognition or someone else's approval. The quiet, unshakable pride that comes from knowing what you chose when no one was watching. You chose this. You chose growth over comfort, intention over autopilot, discipline over the easier path. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Because the world is full of people who talk about changing. You are one of the rare ones who actually sat down, tuned in, and did the work. You gave yourself the gift of a system. You gave yourself the gift of a standard. And now, whether you feel it yet or not, you are carrying something different inside you. A quiet certainty. A new baseline. A version of yourself that has already begun and cannot be undone. That version does not need permission to continue. It only needs one thing: your next decision and your next hour. The most powerful thing about a 90-day commitment is not what it does to your habits. It is what it does to your belief. Every single day you show up, every single hour you protect, every single hard thing you face instead of flee, you send a message to the deepest part of yourself. You send the message that you are worth investing in, that your future matters, that you are not the person who gives up when things get uncomfortable. You are the person who rises precisely because things are uncomfortable. That belief, built slowly and quietly over 90 days, becomes the most valuable thing you own. More valuable than any skill, more valuable than any habit. Because belief is the foundation beneath everything else. When your belief is strong, your discipline follows. When your discipline follows, your results follow. And when your results follow, your life becomes the proof that transformation was never out of reach. It was always just one committed hour away. So take a breath, stand in this moment. Acknowledge what you have already chosen by being here. And then make one more choice. The choice to begin. Not someday, not Monday, not when conditions improve. Today, right now, in the next hour you protect. Your 90 days are waiting. Your future self is waiting. And the most resilient, most disciplined, most unstoppable version of you is already on the other side of this decision. Go meet them.